Hey guys, I'm filming on my G7x again because I still haven't found my camera. Recently, I have been obsessed with a YouTuber named Haley Reese. She does a lot of paranormal story times and just generally interesting content, and she's really good at it. And I'm gonna try my best to cover the mess behind me. Sorry about that. But anyways, her content has inspired me to film a video about my 911 calls. Because believe it or not, I've had more than I think the average human being, and that's weird for me because I am terrified to call 911. I don't think I've ever purposely called 911 without asking somebody to do it first, like asking my parents if it was a good idea. Point is to show you that I am kind of weird about that stuff. I get really anxious that I'm gonna call for the wrong reasons, or just I don't want to get in trouble. That's my biggest thing. So with that being said, I think it's kind of interesting that I have so many calls, and I wanted to share some of them with you. And I know this isn't a vlog, but I think it's gonna be interesting. Without further ado, let's get on with the video. So the first time that I called 911 actually was an accident, but also not an accident at the same time. When I was younger and I would stay home alone, this is gonna sound so dumb. We live in a 2-story house. So when I was younger and would stay home alone, when I would get up in the morning because my parents had already gone to work, I would come downstairs and I would be just a little bit afraid that somebody would be standing down there or something. So somewhere in my OCD 10-year-old mind, I thought that if I were to make the noise of 911 calling on my phone, then if somebody was down there, they would run away. I don't know if that makes sense, but basically, like, if there was a robber or someone in the house generally and they heard me dialing 911, then they would run away. And typically I did this with our house phone and would just call random numbers, just, you know, 3 numbers. But one time I actually started calling 911. I don't know if it was just specifically this time or if I had done it before, but I just dialed 911 as part of my ritual in the morning to make sure nobody was there. How house phones work, or how at least mine worked, because this was back, you know, in the day, not really in the day, but you know what I mean. If you didn't press anything, like didn't press end to the call or just didn't do anything, it would just automatically call. And I don't know if that's like a normal thing, but that's what our house phone did. So I had forgotten that I had ever typed that in and left the phone on the counter, and it accidentally called and I had no idea whatsoever. So a little later on in the day, someone shows up at our door, and I'm not supposed to answer the door. Definitely not. I never did unless it was somebody that I knew, but I looked through the window and it was a police officer, and my dad is a police officer. So I thought to open it because I was like, what's going on? Even though I think now I don't really know if I would tell my kids to open the door to a police officer, because somebody can just dress up as that. My parents never told me to or not. It was just, that's what I did. There was a police officer there and I felt like I should open the door, and I was pretty young. So I opened the door and the police officer says, "Is everything okay? We traced a call from 911 back to here and we just wanted to make sure because there was nobody on the other line. We tried calling back," something along those lines. And I was so confused. I was like, no, I don't think so. I was thinking through my brain, maybe my niece called or something like that, and it ended up popping into my brain that I had called, and the phone just kept going and actually called them. So I apologized and they left, and then I broke down crying and my mom came home. That's the end of the first story. Now the second story actually did not happen too long ago, but this one, technically I didn't call 911, but I was heavily involved in this situation, so my parents called 911, and you'll understand why once we get into it. Honestly, this was probably a few months ago. I don't think it was much more than that, if anything. I was taking a shower in my upstairs bathroom, so that was the scene, that was the setting. How does this story chronologically go? I was taking a shower and I had gotten out of the shower at this point, and I heard the door downstairs kind of rattling, and we have been getting, at this point, a lot of late night. My parents will hear the door rattling, like somebody's trying to get in. We had been hearing that, and I was home alone again, but it was during the day, and so I'm pretty sure that that's how it began, is I began hearing that happening. Oh no, this is what happened. Along those lines, I had heard a key in the door and the door being unlocked. Basically, we have 2 doors to our house, so the one that's on the inside, that's not the screen door, and then it's the inside door, that one I had heard being opened. And so I was like, oh, it's probably my brother or something like that, you know, whatever. And then I'm pretty sure my brother texted me and was like, hey, is Riley home? Which that's my best friend, they're dating. I said, no, but aren't you here? Like, aren't you downstairs? I distinctly remember hearing something. It sounded exactly like the door being opened. So I was assuming that he was here, and he was like, no, I'm in Escondido, like whatever. And so now I was really freaked out because I had heard this happening, and it was scaring me. So I texted my sister to see if maybe she was here, because sometimes my sister comes to grab things and that sort, and she was not. So it was a little creepy. At this point I had told my mom, and sometime in between this happening and while we were trying to figure out what it was, I heard the garage door open. Not the big garage door, but the garage door on the inside and close, because you can hear all of it from upstairs. They're all kind of loud doors. So it was freaking me out because I heard that. And then on top of that, I thought that I heard more like doors trying to open, but later on I found out that that was actually Naya scratching on the bathroom door. But I don't know if that really explains the rest of it, because I could hear this stuff clear as day, and I don't know, I don't really ever give myself the benefit of the doubt sometimes, but I don't know, it sounded so clear, and I didn't know what to do because I was literally just sitting there in a towel, like talking to my parents, texting my parents, trying to be as quiet as I possibly could. I don't know what to do, because what if somebody's in my house? So my mom started to get really worried, because usually she thinks of these things like, oh no, you're fine. She knows that I'm paranoid, but when I was explaining everything that happened, she started to get really freaked out and actually decided to call 911 and talk to my dad. And my dad works really close, so my dad actually left work and came here. Ended up beating the 911 operators, which is kind of funny because, like, if there actually was a break-in, shouldn't you be there? But we basically did that because I was convinced someone was in the house and I had no idea what to do. I'm rewatching this back editing, and I wanted to clarify a couple points because I have a bad memory, so sorry if some of these details are messed up, but I remembered while I was editing, I said something wrong through this story. So about the garage door opening, it was after my mom had already told my dad to come home. And I texted her and I said, oh, I think that he's home. I just heard the big garage door open. And she was extremely confused and scared because she had just called him 5 minutes ago and there was no way that he was home. So that was the big one that freaked us out, because I was so convinced that I heard the big garage door open and the garage door open, one of the two or both, that I thought my dad was home and literally said without a doubt, oh, he's home, no worries, it's fine. And he wasn't at all, because she called him and he was not home. So that was the biggest scare, I think, out of everything, because I seriously thought for sure that he was home. So yeah, I just wanted to clarify that because that's honestly even more scary, and I wanted to include that in this story. I still don't know to this day what that was, or if I was just hearing things, but I distinctly remember hearing a lot of creepy things happening. I don't know. But yeah, that's story number 2. Story number 3 is pretty quick, but honestly a little bit annoying, but I also try to not get annoyed at it because you'll see. A couple months ago, I was in LA with some friends, and we were driving back to my friend Taylor's hotel from Studio City. And Studio City is, to get there, you have to go through all of this windy road, and it's like through the hills, and it's really cool. It's a really cool drive, but obviously it's a hilly, dark drive. And on our way back, we actually passed by a car that had been totaled and there was no lights on, nothing. So we kind of freaked out. So I pulled over and our friends got out to go check and see if everybody was all right, because we were worried that maybe it was a hit and run and somebody was hurt. And so I got on the phone with 911 to just call and report an accident, because that's typically what you're supposed to do, especially in this situation where we didn't know if anybody was okay or not. So I got on the phone and I was put on hold. Yeah, they literally said that there was no other representatives and they needed to put me on hold. I try not to get annoyed at it because it's like LA, and I know that LA has a very high crime rate, but come on. I never heard back from them, by the way. I ended up hanging up the hold and never heard back because the people that were in the car were completely fine or whatever, and they were already on the phone. And then the last time I called 911 also had to do with a car, but it wasn't a car accident. It was more of one waiting to happen. I was driving home from LA on the 91 freeway, and if you live in California or in Southern California, you know the 91 freeway, you know it's crazy. So I was driving home and I noticed that a guy in a silver Mercedes was driving very recklessly, and I thought that he was just messing around with his friend. The person was being extremely just not safe, and I thought because they were kind of like trying to race with this other truck, I thought, oh, they're probably friends, you know, they're probably quote racing or just being little idiots. Well, I started to watch him a little bit more. How I noticed him to begin with was that he started like doing extreme lane changes and cutting people off in such a dangerous way that I seriously thought he was gonna get in an accident, and I'm pretty sure that that guy that he was racing with or whatever was the guy that he first cut off that I noticed. So after that, I was like, okay, that's a little weird. But then he started being extremely aggressive, and the guy would pull up and he would speed up into here, so they were aligned directly, and like he was putting out his hands and doing stuff, I'm pretty sure, and just being overall aggressive. So that guy would slow down and try and get behind him, and he would literally slow down and make sure to be right next to him, because I was in the express lane, and if you know, there's 2 lanes to the express lane, and then there's like 5 lanes of the non-express lane. So we were in the express lane, and this guy was just being super aggressive, like tailgating. I have never seen somebody be so openly aggressive to another car, and he was targeting that specific car. I don't know if that car cut him off, or I don't know if that was like somebody that he knew, but it was really scary because that car was clearly trying to get away from the silver Mercedes. They were not reciprocating any of the road rage. They were seriously just trying to get away from them. At that point, I was really scared that there was gonna be an accident because this guy was driving crazy, and I sound so dramatic, but like really this guy was, I swear he was gonna cause an accident. So I called my mom first to see if I should call 911, just because I don't know if that's what, if you do call highway patrol, I don't know. So she said yes, I should, and I did, and I reported the guy, and I don't know if they ever caught him. Up the road, actually, another person had been pulled over by a cop, so I don't know. He was speeding really bad, so hopefully he got caught. I don't know if he ever got caught. Hopefully he did, because he was driving insane, and it was even making me scared. I'm not really a super cautious driver, so that's saying a lot, I guess. But yeah, that is all of my stories about the times that I called 911. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you like videos like this, give me a thumbs up and let me know down below what other types of videos you'd want to see. And yeah, that's it. I love you guys, and I will see you later. Goodbye.